The results are in for South Carolina's primary election, almost. Here to break things down, Dr. Gibbs Knotts, professor of political science at the College of Charleston and co-author of First in the South, Why South Carolina's Presidential Primary Matters. It's great to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a long time.
Been a long time, but so much to talk about.
So why don't we just dig right in? Let's start with South Carolina's 1st District, shall we? Was this a big surprise?
I don't think it was a big surprise. I mean, this race was in the New York Times and CNN, Fox National. Everybody was covering this race, and the reason they were covering the race is because it's really going to define kind of the future of the Republican Party. You know, how much sway does President Trump still have, and then how much trouble are Republican candidates if they cross the president or go against the president a little bit. And so Nancy Mace voted to certify the election. Donald Trump didn't like that. He came down to Myrtle Beach and Florence, I believe, and actually had a big rally and said all kind of bad things about Nancy Mace and
threw his support behind Katie
and
had
Katie Arrington up on stage. But you know, every race is different, and in this particular district, it is a swing district. It's a district where the Republicans probably aren't quite as conservative as some other congressional districts in South Carolina. And I think Nancy Mace, you know, ran a good campaign, and it was close.
Yes.
Probably closer than she wanted, but it was within 10 points. But you know, ultimately, she doesn't have to go to a runoff, and she can now focus on the general election.
That's right, with the general election where she's going to be up against Democrat Annie Andrews, who is also a newcomer to politics. She's a doctor.
That's exactly right. She's a pediatrician, works at MUSC, and so it'll be, I think, a really interesting contrast. I mean, you know, they're going to have very different opinions on guns, on health care, on education, and so the voters of the 1st Congressional District are going to have two pretty distinct choices in Nancy Mace and Annie Andrews.
What kind of an impact was Katie's lack of funds in her campaign coffers as opposed to Congresswoman Mace's, because there was less than a quarter, I think, of what Nancy Mace had raised.
I think Nancy Mace raised close to $4 million.
Right.
Katie Arrington, I think, just shy of $1 million. And so it's just critically important. And so most importantly, it allows you to get your name out there through television, through social media, through the internet. There's all kind of, I mean, it just costs money.
Speaking of social media, I noticed that Katie Arrington was not on Instagram. I don't think she ever is. She's on Twitter, whereas Congresswoman Mace, she's all over Instagram. She does have a presence, absolutely.
So I think
it's important.
So I think the money allows you to do that. The money allows you to hire staff and, you know, have some more people on your team. And so, I mean, money doesn't guarantee a winner,
no,
but
it does not.
Helps. It certainly helps, and I do think that was a factor in this race.
Let's move on to the governor's race, the gubernatorial race. Joe Cunningham, he is now the Democratic challenger to Governor Henry McMaster. What do you think his chances are?
I mean, I think it's going to be a challenge. Anytime a Democrat's running statewide in South Carolina, they've got an uphill battle. There's more Republicans in this state. We hadn't had a Democrat elected governor since 1998. And so anything's possible. There's a Democratic governor right next door in North Carolina, so it's possible to elect a Democrat. But Henry McMaster, as an incumbent, somebody who's won a bunch of elections in South Carolina, he's certainly got to be considered the favorite at this point.
All right, let's talk about U.S. Senate. So uncontested Senator
Tim Scott, most popular politician probably in South Carolina. Nikki Haley might challenge him on that, but they're both super popular. Tim Scott,
extremely popular. Yes, and so he is going to go up against. Who are we thinking? There's going to be a runoff. Possibly.
So we had 3 African American women running in the Democratic primary, and it looks like it's going to be Catherine Fleming Bruce and Crystal Matthews. It was really a very comparable. Basically, they each got about a third.
It's amazing.
And so basically, they're going to have to go up 2 weeks and go again. And then obviously, with 2 people, somebody's going to get 50% plus 1.
Right.
But again, Tim Scott, you think, you know, Nancy Mace had more money than Katie Arrington. Tim Scott has raised probably more money than anybody in the Senate. You know, tens of millions of dollars. And so it's going to be really difficult for that Democrat. But you know, kudos to those 3 for putting themselves out there, and somebody's going to get a chance to make their case to South Carolina voters.
Certainly. Let's move on to the 6th district, if we could. James Clyburn, he won overwhelmingly. He is also the majority whip for the Democrat Party. he's third-ranking Democrat as a representative.
Yeah.
So there really was no challenge there.
He had a challenger, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately he won handily. He's going to go back, and really that seat's his for as long as he wants it. What people like me are trying to figure out is when he finally decides I'm done. There's a very long list of people who people have on their bingo card of who they think is going to try to get that seat. But yeah,
certainly.
Clyburn is an institution in South Carolina.
Absolutely. And I just want to finally talk about the 7th District, which is up in Horry County.
Right.
Again, Trump-backed.
That's right.
Russell Fry. He was an overwhelming winner to unseat the incumbent.
Yeah. So Trump was 1 for
Rice.
2, if you like baseball, batting .500. So didn't go the way Trump wanted it to in the Mace-Arrington. But this was a huge victory for Trump to take out a sitting member of Congress without even having a runoff. So way to go, Russell Fry, for running such a good campaign. Again, a little bit different district, a more conservative district. No one's talking about the 7th as being a swing district like the 1st. But to be able to win like he did without a runoff is very, very impressive. And Tom Rice also voted for impeachment, which is even more offensive to the Trump folks than voting to certify the election.
Indeed. Any prognostications as we start looking towards November?
It's just a really tough year. It's going to be a tough year for Democrats, and so partly the president's party almost always loses seat in House elections, and so the Democrats are in control. It's never going to be a good year for the president's party in the first midterm. High inflation, gas prices, and so people tend to hold the incumbent, the president, responsible. And so you're already in South Carolina where Republicans have a little bit of an advantage. Then you're going up against some national conditions that are pretty tough. And so it's certainly a place where Democrats have an uphill battle. Anything's possible. That's why we have elections, but it's going to be tough for the Democrats.
It's going to be exciting, and we hope to have you back here in the seat to talk about it again as we get closer to the fall.
I would love it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Knotts. Great to see you again. We're back after this.